All right, guys, good morning. We are on a new lesson for this week, continuing on that theme of string manipulation that we started last lesson. So last lesson, we were looking at concatenation and string slicing. We were looking at these two main things, right? So I'm just going to do a quick recap of that, the tasks that I got you to do. So if you look at these tasks we were doing last lesson, write a program to ask the user for their full name. It should output their whole name, the first character, the first 5 characters, and the 4th, 5th, and 6th characters. So I'm just going to have a quick go at that, just so that people have a bit of a recap and remembering what it is that we did. So asking the user for the full name, first thing we do is ask for an input. So name equals input, question of what is your name, question mark. Okay, so that should give us the user's name. That's the first thing we're doing. And then the first, after we've done that, we want to output the whole name. Some people seem to forget that because usually just after the user's typed their name, there's no need to write out their name again. But actually, it's good to have it here as well. So, I'm going to do, going on to the wrong line, print name. Okay, so that's obviously, if you want to print out everything that's in a variable, then you just put the variable name. You don't need to use the square brackets or anything like that. You're just putting the variable name. The next thing we want is the first character. So I'm going to print name, and then remember we use these square brackets like we do for the lists, where we've got name, brackets, and then the first character is at index 0. Okay, so close my square bracket, close my regular bracket, and that gives me my first character, because name 0 is the first character. Okay, first 5 characters. Okay, this one's a bit more tough. So print name, and then again square brackets. And remember, if we want from the very beginning up to a certain point, we don't need to put the first character in. We could put a 0 there, but we don't have to. And then we put this colon to say from the beginning up to this point, which if we know there's 5 characters, then it will be up to but not including the 5th or the 5th index. Okay, so that would be the first 5 characters. Okay, then the next thing we looked at was the 4th, 5th, and 6th characters. So again, print name, and then square brackets, and this is where we're going, okay, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And if you kind of remember, like you do with the measuring tape type thing, you're going 4 colon 7, because I'm starting from 4. I want to include the 4, but I don't want to include the 7. So it's going up to where the 7's about to start, if that makes any sense. So 4 to 7 gives us the 4th, 5th, and 6th characters, and I'll just run that to show you that working. Let me save it into. Let's take being slow. Save it in here. What do I want to call it? String slicing. Let's spell it correctly. String slicing. Okay. What is your name? Mrs. McMaster. So we've got Mrs. McMaster, which is the full name, M, which is the first character, Mrs. M, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, including the space, 5, the first 5 characters, and then M is the characters 4 till 7, so 4th, 5th, and 6th. So if I were to go through, I'd go, okay, 0, 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, so actually, really, I forgot about the fact that we were talking about we have index 0 to deal with. So really, this should be 3 to 6. So if I run that again, it would be Mrs. McMaster. Oops. And then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4, 5, 6. So that's why we've got space MC. Okay. So that was the first of those 2 tasks. A lot of you managed to do that really well, so well done for that. And then the second task was to create a Mad Libs program. I'll just pull this up like this so we can see it, which asks for a name, adjective, noun, verb, and adverb. So I'm going to just add this to the bottom like most of you did. So ask for a name. So in fact, we've already got a name, so we probably don't need that again. Name, adjective. So adjective equals input, type, and adjective. Okay. Oh, I put 2 speech marks by accident. And then what else do we need? Noun equals type noun. Okay. Oh, I forgot the input. That was silly. Input, type a noun. Okay. Then verb equals input, type a verb. Okay. And then finally adverb equals input, type, and adverb. Okay. So then what we want to do is have all of these items added together. So this is where we're using concatenation, where we're using that plus symbol. So we're going to use print, and then we're going to say name. So we're going to have name as the first bit, which we've already got up here, so that's why it's come up in blue. Name plus, and then we want is a. Now you should notice as well that I've got a space here because the Python won't add the space on its own unless you're putting in a comma in between. And that only works for print statements. If I was to put this in an input statement, it wouldn't work at all for anything with commas. It will work with plus symbols though. So getting into the habit of using plus symbols is actually much better to do, because if you're using commas, then it can cause some issues. Okay, so name is a adjective plus, I want a space here, plus noun, plus, and then space who, space, plus verb, plus space, plus adverb. Okay, and don't forget to close the bracket on that print statement. So because this is so big, it's quite difficult to see all of it at once. What I can do is put this on a second line, and it recognizes it as one line, and you can see that it's indented it because it's gone, well, you haven't finished this line yet, so it's going to be part of this thing. So that's why sometimes if you press enter and it's got this indent here, that's a good sign that if you think you finished that line, it's a good sign that you haven't, you're missing something in that line. So that's something to bear in mind as well. So if I run that, so I'm going to put in a different name this time. Michael, I've spelled that wrong, A-E-L. So we've got Michael M, Micah, H-A-E, type an adjective, giant, noun, I don't know, fish, verb, runs, and then adverb, slowly. Okay, Michael is a giant fish who runs slowly, and you can see that we've not got any issues with the spaces. Now you'll notice here as well, where it's got type an adjective, and then I've started typing. That's because there's no space here. Sometimes in your input statements you'll want a space so that it's a bit easier, a bit nicer to be typing in things. Okay, so that's just going over what we did last lesson, to make sure you understand that, have understood that. If there's any questions about that, then let me know. But those of you who did submit your task, you did it really well, so thank you for that. Okay, moving on. So this lesson we will be finding the length of a given string. We'll be looking at case conversion, and we'll be checking the contents of a string. So the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to quickly go through each of these, explain them to you, and then I'm going to give you a task to do. So so don't switch off. So the length function, or the len function, returns an integer, which is going to be a number. Obviously, integer is a number. The number of items in a sequence, such as a string, list, or dictionary. So we can say name is Elizabeth, like we did last lesson, and we're printing the length of that name, and it will print out 9 because there are 9 letters in the name Elizabeth. This would work the same way if we were looking at a list. We could find out the length of a list, how many items are in that list. Or dictionaries. I haven't talked to you about dictionaries yet, but that is another thing you can use and you can find the length of that. Okay, so that one's fairly straightforward. I hope you kind of understand how that works. Len, brackets, then name, or whatever variable you want to check the length of, and it will give you the length. Okay, case conversion. You can change the case of a given string as follows. So if you want whatever you've typed in to be in uppercase, then it will be your variable name dot upper for uppercase. So if you put name dot upper, or age dot upper, not age, sentence dot upper, for example. So variable name dot upper is uppercase. Variable name dot lower is lowercase, making everything lowercase. Variable name dot title gives you a title case. That means every first letter of a word is capitalized, but the rest are lowercase. And then variable name dot capitalize will give you capital case, which is just the first letter is capitalized and the rest are lowercase, which would kind of be like a regular sentence normally. So title would be like if you're writing the title of something. Capitalize would be like when you're writing a regular sentence. So for example, you might write name equals Elizabeth again, and then you print name dot upper, and don't forget these brackets because they're really important. And even though this has a capital E and then the rest are lowercase, the whole thing gets converted to uppercase. Okay, so these 4 are the ones you need to bear in mind. Okay, then moving on to checking the contents of a string. Now these give you a Boolean expression, which is either true or false. You can use your variable name dot is alpha to check if it contains only letters. So these are letters from the alphabet in particular. And so they can be uppercase or lowercase, but if it includes characters that aren't from the alphabet, then it will return false. If it contains only letters that are in the alphabet, then it will return true. Okay. And varname dot is digit will check to see if it contains only numbers, so digits 0 to 9. Is digit, if it contains anything that's not a digit, it will return false. If it contains anything that If it contains only digits and nothing else, then it will return true. And then you can do the same thing with dot is upper and dot is lower. Don't forget these brackets on all of these. And it will check the case of a given string. So if you said name dot is upper, open close brackets, then it will check to see if your name is in uppercase, all in uppercase, or all in lowercase, and so on. Okay, so I've got a task for you. Assuming that name equals Usain Bolt, year equals 2009, time equals 9.58 seconds, event equals 100m sprint or 100-meter sprint, and info is the current world record, what do these sentences do, these statements do? So go to tinyurl, open up the year 9 folder, the practical folder, string manipulation, like you did last time. Some of these involve a bit of trying to use string slicing like we did before. So you'll have to think about how that works, particularly number 8 and number 2 and number 4. You have to think about those. But all of the things that I am referring to here, I've talked about today. So even if you missed last lesson, you should be able to just about understand how this works, hopefully. So as I say, go on to the student resources. So the tiny URL, which is the student resources, go into the year 9 folder, go into practical, and then you want the string manipulation. So we did concatenation and string slicing last week. This week we want string manipulation, and I'll give you about 5 minutes to have a go at that. All right. All right, guys, so most of you seem to have responded to that. So if you're still going, just carry on, get that finished off, but we're going to start going through some of the answers. So there are a couple of ones that a few people got caught out by. Just there was a couple of issues with just checking the spelling as well of the way you've typed things in. So that's one of the things you've got to be really careful with these ones. Okay, so I think pretty much everyone who responded to this first one got it right. If it's in title case, then you're putting every first letter as a capital. So where it says info.title, info is the current world record, so we've got the current world record in capitals. Okay, so well done everyone for getting that. Info 12 onwards upper, so this would have involved a bit of counting, so going, okay, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and this is the 12th character, so it's going to include that one. So 12 onwards dot upper, if I convert 12 onwards, which is just world record, into uppercase, then it gives me world record in uppercase. Yeah, most of you managed to get that. I think most people managed to work out that 12 onwards would be up in this direction somewhere, and I think someone just forgot that you needed to convert it to uppercase, and one person didn't include the W, so we just make sure you include that in there. So if you're starting from 0 over here and imagining you're using like a ruler, then going, this is where number 12 starts, and then you're going to the end. Okay. The next one we're looking at is year.isDigit. So year got 2009. Yes, it should be a digit, so that is true. Okay. One person managed to spell true incorrectly. One person didn't seem to notice what we're asking for when we're saying .isDigit. I'm not printing out the year itself. I'm asking, is it a digit or not? So it's returning true. Okay. Next one, time up to 4.isDigit. Now this was a tricky one. I think a lot of people managed to not quite get this one. Because you kind of went, okay, time up to 4. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 9.58. Okay. Now, in fact, looking at it, quite a few of you did get it right, but 9.58, does that include only digits? Well, actually, if you look at it, there's a point in there. So that point isn't in the digits 0 to 9. So that was a bit of a tricky one there, just noticing that that point isn't included as a digit. So most of you managed to get that. So well done there. And then, so again, that came out as false. It is not it's not a digit-based thing. Okay. Then the next one, len of year. So how many digits have we got in the year? There are 4 digits, so 4. That one was fairly straightforward. Most of you managed that. I think the one person who managed to not quite get that was thinking about the fact that we have to count from 0. If we're asking about length, then you're thinking about it like you would normally think about length. How many digits does it have? Okay. The next one is event.isAlpha. Is that event here 100m sprint? Is that purely alphabetical? All of you managed this one. I think one person managed to spell it wrong, but yes, it is false. It has digits in it, so it can't be an alphabetical thing. Okay. Then name.isAlpha. This was again a bit of a tricky one because all of these, if you look at this, yeah, every part of that is in the alphabet, but people seem to tend to forget about the fact that this character here, the space, is not in the alphabet. So actually, that's false. Usain Bolt with a space in between is not in the alphabet, so it comes out as false. So well done to the one person who managed to get that one right. Then this one, a little bit more tricky again. So info up to 3. So looking at so 0, 1, 2, 3, and we're not including the third item. So 0 up to 3, or every from the beginning up to 3, which gives us the word the, and we're going to have that bit in lowercase, so the would be in lowercase. And then info from 12 to 17. So we already established from this point here, the world record bit, that 12 is the character W. And if we go up to 17, well, it's not surprising that it's the word world. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, but not including this character 17. Okay, so it would, and that part is in uppercase. So it's going to be lowercase the, uppercase world, but no space in between it. A couple of you managed to get that right. One person managed to think that there was a space in between it. So either you did include a space where you weren't supposed to, or you just forgot about the fact that when you're concatenating items that they don't automatically have a space. And then some people, a couple of people put the world record. It wasn't 12 up to the end, it was 12 up to 17, which was up to this point. Okay, so it wouldn't have included the word record. And then another person put the current world. So it didn't go from the beginning up to 17. It went from the beginning up to 3, and then 12 to 17. Okay. And then the final one, I think most people kind of guessed what I was expecting here, but because you've got to pay a lot of attention to what is in between here. So there's a space here and a space here, space here and a space here, and then I've got a comma. Some people miss that comma. Some people miss the space. Some people forgot about certain variables, but most of you managed to get the correct answer for that one. So the current world record for the 100-meter sprint is 9.58 seconds, comma, set by Usain Bolt in 2009. That is a true fact that I thought I would have a go at playing with. Okay, so hopefully you've kind of had a good idea now of how all of those things work. If you need to go back over those, feel free to re-watch this video and kind of speed through it if you want to be able to see those kind of things. But this week, I would like you to submit these tasks to me. So write a program which asks for a username, just like we did with asking for a name. And that program will return the username in lowercase. And then it will return the username in uppercase. Then it will return the username with the first letter as uppercase and the rest lowercase. Then it will check the length of the username and tell the user whether they have entered 6 characters or not. You'll probably need an if statement for this. Okay, so remember how to use if statements. And then check that the first 4 characters are alpha and the 5th and 6th are digits, and then it tells the user. So one of the things on this last one, you might need things like this kind of thing where you've got the variable name and you've got your square brackets and you're getting a certain part of that variable. Close the square brackets, dot is alpha and dot is digit. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do, like you to submit for me before next week. But if you can get it done today, that would be great. And yeah, that's all I have for you this lesson. I hope you feel like you've learned something. If you do feel like you've learned something, just for my feedback, give this video a thumbs up. If you think that it wasn't really very useful and you didn't really understand, you can give it a thumbs down. But please, if you've done that, also send me a message on Show My Homework so I can talk to you about it so we can work out what went wrong. Okay, I'll leave you to get on with those tasks. Have a lovely week. I will see you next week. Bye, guys.